It matters to India. It matters to India. And it matters to me. And it matters to me.
India Matters with Shivaru. Only on NDTV 24/7.
Good evening and a very warm welcome to India Matters on Tuesday night. We're starting with some big breaking news today. 19 days after the Air India Flight 171 crash, we've got the big breaking story tonight. In just 10 days from now, the first probe details will be officially out. The preliminary report that is supposed to be out within a 1-month time frame from the accident will be out no later than July the 11th. We have a confirmation on that. This preliminary report, remember, will be the first official word on what made that aircraft, that Boeing 787 Dreamliner of Air India, Flight 171, crash on the 12th of July in the afternoon. This report is expected to unlock the mysteries of what went down. Remember, all the theories, all the speculation will hopefully come to an end on the 11th of July or before that, and we'll have a sense of what one of India's worst aviation disasters was caused by. Vishnu Shom, who breaks that story here on NDTV, is with me live. Vishnu, July 11th is when that preliminary report will be out. The crash probe is still very much on, extremely complicated, but within that 1-month time frame, those first details will be out, Vishnu.
It could be a few days before that or after that, but the expectation is by the 11th of July, the report will be out. Now, the details I'm sharing now are details brought to us by our colleague Sesha Sen, and these are important details. And what we know at this juncture is that the preliminary report, which will be out, will be between 4 and 5 pages in length. It will include details of the aircraft, the crew, the aerodrome conditions, the weather conditions, very significantly on the possible causes as well. The name of the investigator will be revealed, and there'll also be a chart which sort of points out the progress which has been made and areas which need further investigation. I think it's important that to tell our viewers, and there are so many who are watching this, number one, this gives you an indicator of where it's all headed in terms of the investigation. It's not the definitive report. That could take perhaps up to 3 months longer. But this report, it remains seen whether we'll get a clear-cut idea or we'll have to wait for that final report.
Okay, we'll have to wait for that final report, but the preliminary report, based on what's on the black box, the flight data recorder, as well as the cockpit voice recorder, will be in that preliminary report. Vishnu and team tracking that closely. We'll have those first details here on NDTV. Thanks very much, Vishnu, for that. The second piece of breaking news today on NDTV, once again, 19 days after the crash of AI171, is that a very big class action lawsuit could be afoot against Air India, against Boeing, against GE, or maybe all of them as well. We can confirm to you here on NDTV that the survivors, the families of victims of the Air India Flight 171 crash, are currently in touch with law firms, the biggest aviation law firms in the world, and at least 57 victims' families in the UK especially are about to decide and finalize a class action lawsuit against either Air India or Boeing or GE or maybe all of the above. Now, what is a class action lawsuit? A class action lawsuit is when many people, many plaintiffs come together and file a joint lawsuit for a common cause in pursuit of either punitive damages or compensation. This happens quite often in aviation crash cases. In fact, I've got some data here of the biggest aviation class action lawsuits of the past. In October 29th, 2018, Lion Air flight 610 had crashed. 189 people had died. The class action suit that was filed was on product liability against Boeing, triggering one of the biggest aviation payouts in history. In fact, it is the biggest. $2.5 billion was actually paid out. On the 10th of March 2019, Ethiopian Airlines 302, this was also a 737 MAX aircraft. 157 people were dead. The case was a class action versus Boeing for the 737 MAX flaws. The payout was over $500 million, and some of those settlements are still taking place. March 8th, 2014, Malaysian Airlines, the famous aircraft that disappeared, MH370, 239 people presumed dead. Multiple suits for negligence and emotional trauma was part of the class action suit. At least $50 million have already been paid out. Remember, the official word, of course, is that the search for the aircraft is still very much on. June 1st, 2009, Air France 447, which crashed into the Atlantic Ocean, 228 people died. A class action suit on wrongful death against Airbus and Air France was filed by many of those families. Over $100 million in settlements were paid out by the defendants in that case. So right now, we are talking about the possibility of a large class action suit that is being contemplated. Remember, it's important to point out that the preliminary probe report is not even out just yet. That's going to be out, roughly a week to 10 days from now. But it looks like families are in touch with big law firms to put together what could turn out to be a major lawsuit against either Air India or the maker of the aircraft or the maker of the engines, or maybe all of the above. Let's try and get some sense into what this lawsuit could look like if it happens. Remember, on NDTV, we do not want to prejudge or speculate upon it, but our reporter at NDTV Profit, Sesa Sen, has reported these details after speaking to experts involved, the families involved as well, and we have a confirmation that among the 53 Britain-based victims' families, many of them are uniting now to possibly begin a class action lawsuit against Air India. Mirza Faizan is a well-known aviation expert based in Texas, aerospace scientist and aviation safety expert. He's trained in air crash investigations as well. Captain Ehsan Khalid is a commercial pilot and civil aviation commentator. He's been a veteran Indian Air Force pilot as well. Let me go to the both of them. Mr. Faizan, I'd like to come to you first. Class action lawsuits are not uncommon, in the history of aviation accidents. We are hearing, and this is not speculation because we've spoken both to families as well as some of the law firms that may be involved, that a class action lawsuit could be contemplated in the case of AI171. What do you make of this, sir?
So, Shiv, first of all, class action lawsuits, as you just said, is not uncommon. Every time there's an air crash investigation, an air crash and the investigation, based on the findings, this lawsuit proceeds. And if it is evident that this crash happened because of negligence, and most of the time there's human errors, right? The parties are notified, and as per the law, as per the lawsuit, they are asked to pay to the victims and the families for all the trauma and the loss.
Yeah. Okay. Captain Khalid, a class action lawsuit, not uncommon, as Mirza Faizan has also confirmed. In this particular case, the preliminary crash investigation report could be out in about a week to 10 days from now. In that context, what would the families be speaking to lawyers about?
Look, aviation is a science that is developed over time. Yet, we would learn a lot of things as the science progresses. So if it is just a knowledge gain in which, the humanity didn't know that accidents could happen in this way, then I'm sure it's not a criminal negligence or criminal fault by anyone, be it the software engineer or the manufacturer or the pilot or the technician. However, if it is known at some point of investigation
Yes.
that a thing like this could remotely occur, at the design table it was discussed and then somebody overruled it. That was the kind of a thing that happened in Boeing 737 MAX
Yes.
and Boeing 737-200 about 2 decades back. That would be something that would be criminal or at the part of the manufacturer or the person who took the decision to overrule a possible fatal accident that could happen because of weakness of the architecture of the system. Coming back to that, human error as such, if the person does not want to kill himself and others, I don't think it is something which is a criminal negligence. Okay, but human error is failure of human machine to act in a manner that we were told to do, but we were not able to do. It could be engineer or it could be a pilot. So, in my opinion, the preliminary investigation report, the sad thing is that everybody is represented out there. There are 2 people who are not represented. That is the captain and the co-pilot.
Yeah.
Okay. That is a sad part. The passengers are now being represented by ICAO and a whole battery of lawyers in Britain and here.
Yeah.
He is being represented. Rolls-Royce will be represented. Boeing will be represented. But those 2 pilots are actually left in open, and there is nobody who's representing them. That is the unfortunate scenario here. Okay. Therefore, probably we would need to look as to why the preliminary investigation report is taking time as much as 30 days. Because if it was, my experience says, if it was a blatant pilot error or blatant an error on the part of the airline, by now Boeing would have been out with microphone everywhere shouting that there's nothing wrong with the Boeing airplane and this was the problem. Whether the AIB comes with a report or doesn't come with a report, that nothing has come out till now. And most importantly, Shiv, I told you in your first interview with on the subject, is that till date, no one knows what was the total cargo on board, what was the total fuel on board.
Yeah.
Right. This doesn't need an...
I'll come to those details in just a bit. Captain Khalid, hold on to that thought for just a moment, because, there are very many different reasons why a class action suit could actually take place. But it's important to once again remind our viewers that the preliminary findings, officially speaking, are not out just yet. So what would this class action suit actually be based on? After reading the pattern of class action suits, we just put together some hypothetical scenarios of what class action suits could look like in the context of flight AI171. Possibility number 1 could be airline negligence. The families theoretically sue Air India for failure to maintain aircraft safety. Possibility number 2 would be manufacturer liability. Families theoretically sue Boeing or General Electric, the makers of the engines, for technical failure if that is found to be the cause. Possibility number 3, maintenance failure. Families theoretically sue the airline and a third-party MRO firm for flight unworthy aircraft if that is found to be the cause. Possibility number 4, sabotage or security lapse. Families hypothetically could sue the airline or airport security providers for failing to prevent malicious action leading to this accident. So there are all these possibilities when it comes to class action suits filed against either the airline or the aircraft maker. Mirza Faizan, at this point of time, how do these things actually come together in class action suits? Are there big aviation law firms that sort of try and gather all these families together and tell them that they have a case and that they should be, uniting as a class action against these airlines? How does this actually work?
So as Captain Khalid rightly said, all right, of course, there are aviation law firms who work very closely with the victims and the victims' families, and if there are survivor victims, there is one survivor victim as well.
Yeah.
He with him as well. So and when they gather the evidence, and a preliminary investigation report is an important piece of initial evidences. If it is found that the crash has happened because of anyone's deliberate error. I mean, let's say I will still call it error because no one wanted the plane to crash, but then a deliberate error,
Yeah.
as Captain said. So when that happens, they come across and then they work with evidence. This is a scientific team. They work with a scientific team, a technologist, because they have to present in the court beyond suitable doubt that this investigation happened because of negligence and deliberate negligence, right? And when that happens, that's how the lawsuit proceeds. And the final investigation reports also forms a very strong evidence for and against this lawsuit.
Captain Khalid's final question, nothing can bring back loved ones. That loss can never be made up for. But these class action lawsuits led by large, legal firms have resulted in enormous payments. We just saw that information on our screen, $2.5 billion in that Boeing lawsuit for the MAX airliners in Lion Air, 500 million in the Air France 447 crash. There is obviously a great deal of money as well in these cases.
Shiv, let me tell your viewers through you, is that the payouts that you saw in 737 MAX or previous accidents could be a fraction of what could come. It's an existential crisis for Boeing.
Yeah.
Remember, there are 1,100 aircraft which are fully booked for next 100 days. And if there is a technical issue found either with the engine or with the aircraft or with the software, 1,100 aircraft will go down for at least, will go grounded for at least 100 days plus. Every day $1 billion bill will have to be paid by Boeing. So I look at 100 to 200 billion dollar payouts to airlines just for their cancellations. Okay, if the Boeing doesn't pay, then somebody else will pay with the insurance company. So what we are seeing, this class action lawsuit and all, is fragment of what could happen. Similarly, if there was a problem found with the airline, it would be a very tough time for Air India to actually come out of it. But I see bigger problem with the Boeing, with this particular thing, because they are already crippling to recover from the damage that was caused by 737 MAX.
Yeah.
And now this is on top. So this is, all these things puts on the day 11th when you get the preliminary investigation report, and if that has something to say about the electronics, electrical, software of Boeing, okay, we are looking at $100 billion loss to someone.
Mirza Faizan, final question to you. Airlines, aviation companies, aircraft manufacturers, obviously they have a lot of insurance for precisely this kind of thing. Nobody wants an aircraft to crash, but I'm assuming that many of these giant companies would have sort of a financial cushion to face class action lawsuits of this kind. Payouts.
Oh, definitely. Pretty much they are covered by huge insurance backing. So there are, in fact, aviation insurers. So they're covered by insurance backing. And company do not normally keep a cash cushion to deal with this kind of situation. The insurance company, this falls on the insurance company's tab.
Okay, Mirza Faizan, Captain Ehsan Khalid, thank you once again for helping us understand this NDTV news break. A legal class action lawsuit in the Air India 171 crash seems to be the way at least a large chunk of the families of victims based in the United Kingdom want to go. And that announcement is likely to be made very soon, probably even this week, ahead of that preliminary probe report emerges. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me on India Matters. Meanwhile, an absolutely infuriating video has emerged from the city of Mumbai, where a shopkeeper who was speaking Hindi instead of Marathi was shamelessly attacked by what we understand are workers of the Maharashtra Navnirman Sena of Raj Thackeray. Is anyone really surprised? This incident took place on Mira Road in Thane, which is on the outskirts of Mumbai. This is violence over the anti-Hindi push being perpetrated in the most cowardly manner by parties like the MNS. The shopkeeper is seen in this video being beaten up by MNS workers. I want you to hear it for a moment.
महाराष्ट्र में कौन सी भाषा बोली जाती है? सब भाषा कौन सी
And NDTV's Saurabh Gupta is live with me for more on this. Saurabh, any action been taken? This is disgusting. It's being filmed. MNS workers, obviously, they only find their strength in numbers because none of them will have the guts to fight alone. Assaulting a shopkeeper on Mira Road in Thane, beating him up for speaking in Hindi. Any action being taken?
Well, from what we picked up from the police, an FIR has been registered, but no arrests yet, even though who these people are is clearly visible on the video, and it shouldn't take so much time for the police to identify them and take legal action, whatever is required to be done in this case. However, this incident took place on the day the Maharashtra government cancelled the 2 government resolutions, which of course was done in the wake of protests by the MNS and the Shiv Sena UBT, which have joined hands to take on the Maharashtra government over this issue. However, MNS workers who were celebrating, so to speak, this cancelling of the government resolutions took matters into their own hands at this shop in Mira Road in Thane district, which is on the outskirts of Mumbai. And of course, a lot of abusive language is also heard in that clip. And of course, you can see them assaulting that shopkeeper, slapping him repeatedly. The police say action will be taken, but an FIR has been registered. However, no arrests yet.
Saurabh, you live and work in Mumbai. You've reported on many such cases where, Hindi speakers have been assaulted. We are reporting this shameful violence in a week where, anti-Hindi politics has united the Thackeray cousins. We've seen the Fadnavis government flip and flop over its Hindi policy in schools as well. Is it possible, and I'm asking you this because you've reported on these firsthand, it's possible that these thugs will get away scot-free because of political compulsions? Nobody will want to take action against them.
Absolutely possible, and even if they are booked, even if they are arrested, it'll be probably a few days of incarceration, and then they'll be out. That's usually what's happened in these cases. In fact, there have been so many of these incidents that have been happening in the past, and I don't actually recall an incident where someone has actually faced punishment or has gone beyond a few days in custody, or sometimes it's bail over the counter. So yes, this kind of videos do unfortunately have political returns, and that's perhaps one of the reasons why it's done in a way where there is with such impunity.
Done with impunity, and I'm just wondering if this is what Mumbai wants. Has this kind of violence become normalized in an air of political complicity with acting violently against those who either cannot or refuse to speak in Marathi? What crime have they committed to be able to beat someone up like this, being part of a political establishment? Only shows how far Mumbai and its political landscape has really fallen. Politics, or whatever you want to call it. The fact is, as Saurabh pointed out, those people in this video can clearly be identified, they can be seen. An FIR has been lodged, but they haven't been arrested yet. And it tells you everything you need to know about anti-Hindi politics in Maharashtra. We will not let go of that story. You will, I promise you, get an update on that at 11 p.m. today on NDTV. Now moving on to a story that has disturbed an entire country. People watching this story even 4 days later are filled with questions. The death of Shefali Jariala. Her post-mortem is still not out. There continues to be suspense over it. And into this vacuum, there continues to be an entire storm of speculation. A trickle of information from friends and family seems to build out an image of someone who was self-medicating, someone who was under pressure to look young, someone who was self-injecting certain supplements, someone who was under anti-aging therapy. This has all led to a very unseemly, very indelicate suspense deepening in the Shefali Jariala case. Here on NDTV, as you have no doubt noticed, we are reporting only the facts. we are attempting to navigate this story with sensitivity, because 4 days after the death of this 42-year-old actor, reality star and dancer, there are very few of those questions that have actually been answered. An entire young generation continues to consume this story with an increasing sense of anxiety over why there are no answers to some of the basic questions yet, and why it is that only a trickle of information appears to be coming out via the media. This death continues to be shrouded, despite all this information, in question after question after question. So what is holding on to the truth? Now remember, investigations into death, post-mortems, can be extremely complicated affairs, and they can take time. The truth is, it can take 7, 8, 10 days, it can take 2 weeks even. We are not saying anything about foul play. There are so many others speculating about it. But we have to acknowledge, questions that need answers, because there are fans in their millions watching and consuming this story and wondering whether something is being hidden, what went wrong, why this delay continues to raise doubts, and most importantly perhaps, young Indians watching and wondering why Shefali Jariala is dead. And that's the reason why here on NDTV we've made it a point to bring in sense and sensibility on this story. Lakshmi Rana is an entrepreneur. You know her as a supermodel, someone who has innovated incredibly in this space. She's an educator and founder of Wilderby Talent Camp, and a person who's been responsible for many models, many young Indians entering showbiz as well. Lakshmi, good to see you. Thank you very much for your time. And I wish, once again, as we always say, I wish this was on a happier story. I wish these were under better circumstances. But this is a tragedy that we are talking about, the death of a young person in the limelight, who is no longer with us. There are all these questions and speculations that have done the rounds on why she died, how she died, what medicines she was taking. But I'd like to get your first thoughts on her death. This is not an unfamiliar situation we find ourselves in, Lakshmi, where someone in the limelight has passed away and there are all these questions many days later.
I'm really, I was pretty shocked about her death. The thing is, I would like to highlight 2 points here. One is that, I don't know what the circumstances were that, surrounds her death, but keeping all the speculations in mind, I need to tell people, and I need to bring this out here, that number one, that the idea of beauty today is very misplaced. Beauty is a lot to do with 4 different aspects, which is more of mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical growth. So when we talk about the kind of pressures we feel or we come under in the glamour industry, when it comes to being thin and young and looking a certain way, I feel that the youth of today needs to understand that it is not the right way to go about it. Today, we value uniqueness. We value personalities who have a certain inspirational quality to give out.
Yeah.
The second thing that I would like to point out is post-COVID especially, the industry has opened up to so many different varieties and different kinds of beauty. Be it, we don't really care about being thin and tall anymore. It is a lot to do with uniqueness, which is, it could be any gender, it could be any age category, it could be, a different physicality, be it a plus size model, or, perhaps, models with, a skin disorder, a skin issue, which is maybe a vitiligo models are doing really well today. So I am right now at an age where I will be doing the India Couture Week in July and walking with models who are half my age.
Yeah.
And if I had to compare myself to them, it is a lost cause. I am doing that because of my, the reason why I'm relevant today is because of the authenticity, the experience that I bring to the table. And if we start accepting that, if we start accepting who we are and how we age gracefully and keep our experience as the most important aspect of growth, I feel that we will do a good job of ourselves by staying, relevant.
The sad and tragic part, I take your point, Lakshmi, is that, I wish Shefali was, around to answer some of these questions, and I realize the irony in wishing that. But, all of these things being said about the anti-aging therapy, etc., it's so ironic to be able to, talk about it now after she's gone. She was only 42 years old. But I do want to draw your attention to some of the specifics here. And, you've been in the limelight. You are in the limelight. You've tutored people to be in the limelight as well, Lakshmi. Words like glutathione, injections for anti-aging therapy. What do these really mean? Because, for many people, they're hearing about these things for the first time. Are these things that people in showbiz are constantly having to face up to?
Absolutely. I feel the most important point here is that, to what level are you going to stretch to actually fit a certain norm, and or a certain kind of a mold that people expect out of you. So when it comes to, and I feel that there's a lot of lack of awareness of these kind of procedures and medicines that you're intaking. However, if you follow the Kardashians, like, for example, if the youth of today follow the Kardashians, they will feel that, oh, maybe this is what is needed. You need to inject yourself or be a certain type. However, it's called, there's this book called Worshipping False Gods. So if you're following the right people like an Ashley Graham, who's a plus size influencer, who talks about body positivity, who talks about how to bring out your unique self, she's walked the international ramp so many times. And I feel that, are we really following the right people? Are we really, in times of social media where there's so much available, we are actually in a place wherein we are, educating ourselves in the wrong manner. And that is what I bring to the table when it comes to my education platform. For all these years, I've realized that, beauty is something which is a misconception. The idea of beauty is actually brought about wrong in the industry. Yeah. It is, so the idea of beauty today is very different than what it used to be. So right now there is a space for all kinds of people to grow in this glamour industry. So where is the pressure? The pressure needs to be understood, that it is not about being fitting into a mold that people expect out of you. It is about how you find your place in this world of glamour.
The fight against those perceptions of beauty, I imagine, is going to be a long fight, even though we live in a world, where those perceptions are visibly changing, like you've, very well described, Lakshmi. My final comment to you then is, for all young people aspiring to be in showbiz, watching and, probably feeling a sense of anxiety themselves about the possibility of someone succumbing to anxiety. We don't know the reality of what happened. But how would you advise them? We live in a world of social media, where which brings its own level of ruthlessness and feedback to those perceptions of beauty that you speak about.
I really would like to tell the youth of today, especially because they are the ones who are most impressionable, that it comes down to three things. It comes down to self-worth, it comes down to being resilient, and it comes down to being careful about what you are intaking in terms of information. If these three things are followed well, I feel that, you will, the youth of today will actually go down the right path instead of worshipping false gods, as I said. So, this is what advice I would like to give them.
Okay, Lakshmi Rana, it's been nice talking to you. Once again, I wish this was on a better occasion, and we will bring you back. But 4 days after the death of Shefali Jariala, as we in the media, we certainly on NDTV continue to report this with facts. It's good to have people with skin in the game, as it were, people under the limelight, people in the industry, people who are responsible for others entering this industry, to give us a sense and a perspective. And I think it's very sobering to hear that these are issues that are shared by so many of you. And I somewhere hope that Shefali Jariala is listening as well. Thank you. Thank you very much, Lakshmi, for being with us.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We Indians are no stranger to racism and bigotry when we travel abroad. There's a whole community of jealous bigots, unhappy about India's new place in the world. But racism, my friends, is still always jarring, isn't it? Well, the latest bigot on the block, I want to introduce you to him. He's no small fry. US Congressman Brandon Gill, the youngest Republican in the House of Representatives, no less, is in a viral spotlight for a shocking racist attack on Meera Nair's son and New York mayoral frontrunner Zohran Mamdani for a video in which the latter, as you can see, is eating with his hands as we Indians do. Now, Mamdani may be a performer, has his own hypocrisies and dishonesties and hatreds, which I've called out on this show, as you've seen, but the shocking racism of Congressman Brandon Gill, calling Mamdani uncivilized and ordering him to return to the third world, take a look at what he said, I'm not even making it up, has made even your bread and butter MAGA racist probably blush a little. But here's the real comedy. This hateful coward congressman pretending to defend Western hygiene lives in a culture where the gold standard of post-defecation cleanliness is toilet paper. That's right. The man who finds eating with clean washed hands uncivilized belongs to a country where wiping your backside with brittle tissue and calling it a day is considered peak sanitation. I did not want to go there, but that's what racism does to me. So let me get this straight. A hand that is washed before and after eating rice is barbaric and uncivilized, but smearing and smudging with toilet paper and strutting out like you've had a spiritual cleansing, that's Western custom. And I'm not even talking about Western customs in general. I'm only talking about this US congressman. That's the pinnacle of evolution. Why am I so offended by a random MAGA racist? Maybe because Representative Congressman Gill's tweet isn't about cutlery, isn't about spoons and forks. It's about his need to mask bigotry in the language of civilization, the white man's burden, in his understandable need to attack Zohran Mamdani. Of course, they've got political differences, but this congressman has betrayed his laughable, two-dimensional understanding of food, culture, history, and hygiene. His own wife is of Indian origin. There are pictures of his own in-laws eating with their hands. But why would that matter to a petty racist, enabled enough in a new America to peddle his personal insecurities? This isn't a fork versus fingers debate. It's a fragile little tantrum from a petty little man whose worldview is so small. Well, I'm not completing that sentence. You want to talk about the third world, Congressman? Look no further than your own bathroom habits. And maybe next time you lecture the world about customs, wash your hands first, assuming you ever do.
You're supposed to take this aplam, break it, mix it with this, and eat it.
So it's a whole experience, and Mr. Gill needs some food for thought.
This is our life, and there's nothing unhygienic about it.
When you put a KFC ad which says finger licking good, that's okay.
So Zohran Mamdani, who's big time in the news, he's gone completely viral for his performance in the mayoral primaries in the United States. He's Meera Nair's son. Well, this new video of him eating with his hands has sparked, and I'm really shocked, guys, one of the most racist attacks by the youngest US congressman from the Republican Party. This guy, I'd never heard of him before, but his name is Brandon Gill, and he has said, civilized people in America don't eat like this. If you refuse to adopt Western customs, go back to the third world. So as you can see, I'm sitting in the third world right now, along with all my third world colleagues and friends here at NDTV. Asim, Aarti, Veera, Gauri, and Vasudha. And we definitely all eat with our hands. Absolutely. So we're wondering why Zohran Mamdani, and you know, people may have differences with him and him as a politician, but we completely hail him eating with his hands. Veera, you always eat with your hands. I don't think I've ever seen you eat with a fork or a spoon.
What's
going
fork?
on?
What's a fork? What's a spoon?
Exactly, right? You've got some nice bisibele bath and tair sadam on your plate.
If Mr. Gill can come here and try this bisibele bath and curd rice, tair sadam, with the spoon and then taste it with his hands, you're supposed to take this aplam, break it, mix it with this and eat it.
Yeah.
The taste only then comes.
So this Brandon Gill, by the way, his father-in-law is Dinesh D'Souza, Indian. From India, from the third world, okay? But his wife has now said, no, we don't eat with our hands. You know, we are not the kind of Indians who eat with our hands and stuff. But Gauri, eating with your hands is what? What is this third world racism nonsense? I mean, why are people going to town about it?
No, this is something that comes naturally to every one of us and around the world, right? I mean, Indians have been making a mark everywhere and around the world we've been eating with our hands. That's, I think, not just racist, but also very something that you're seeing more and more of that, right?
Ignorance.
Vivek Ramaswamy has also been facing a lot of backlash because of his Indian roots and stuff. So we're seeing so much of that happening in America right now. This is the new MAGA side of America as well.
I mean, you eat pizzas with your hands.
Yeah.
You eat pizza with your hands. You don't eat pizza with a fork and knife, do you?
Or tacos, ribs, all that,
Burgers with your hands.
So-
You don't eat a burger with a fork and knife and cut it down, do you? Yeah.
So we have a very nice third world cuisine representation here. We have tair sadam, we have biryani over here. We've got bisibele bath, which Veera is eating, and Gauri is also eating. I've also got it here. So nice national representation. But Vasudha, eating with your hands is also there's also a sort of cultural aspect to it. You know, are we wrong to be offended by this guy? He's a 31-year-old Republican saying, "Go back to the third world. We are not uncivilized like you people." I'm enjoying being uncivilized here.
Absolutely, Shiv. You know, there's no other way to eat rice, and I'm a rice eater. One of the first lessons I taught my son was when he was eating vada sambar, that you don't eat it like a donut. You dunk it in the sambar nicely, you know, and then you put it in your mouth. And how do you even eat an aplam with a spoon, right? So, you know, we've heard these stories of Indians in the US being told you smell of spices.
Yeah.
You know, I have a lot of people who work in software. My brother was telling me that a lot of people actually are told these things very softly, very politely, but it's not a nice thing to hear.
Telling them don't eat with your hands.
No, don't eat with your hands. Your hands smell of spices. So, you know, they are in some ways, it's very humiliating. And when I saw the video and, you know, the comments that have come up, it is upsetting. It's very anger-inducing because this is our life and there's nothing unhygienic about it. And there's no other way to eat.
You know, Shiv, I think something important that we're forgetting here also is that the way that this has come about, like Vasudha said, it's something we've grown up with, but if you look behind in the cultural aspect of it, right, in villages, or when the culture sort of came up, way of living per se, there was a way how you were supposed to eat as well. You have to eat the sweet first, then you have to eat the vada, then you have to eat curd rice in the end, then rasam comes first, because I'm South Indian, that's all I know. And on a banana leaf, I think Veera would also agree with me, it's very difficult. You have to manage that the rasam doesn't slip off from your banana leaf.
I challenge anyone to do eating with a spoon on a banana leaf. It's not possible. This is our way of living life. Look, this is a value judgment that people make. When you put a KFC ad which says finger licking good, that's okay.
Yeah.
But when it comes down to you come down, if the same man comes down here for an Insta photograph, he would do all the eating in the hand. The value judgment, and I think what's more important, Shiv, leave the Americans out, leave the others out. There are a lot of Indian youth who turn around and say that, oh, eating with your hands is ugly. Yeah. This is a villager's way of doing it. Why? I mean, what's wrong? Wherever you go, what's wrong with eating with your hand? At a 5-star, I mean, why, if I order a thali at a 5-star, why should I eat it with a fork and knife, yeah? I should eat it with my hands.
And Asim here, by the way, has more skin in the game as far as eating with the hands is concerned, because he's literally began his career by writing an article in a newspaper saying why I eat with my hands. And he was trolled quite a bit about it. This is like practically in the pre-internet era. Asim, tell us about that.
So yeah, that was my first job way back in 2004, and I was kind of a colleague tried to shame me for eating with my hands, so I vented out in the form of an article, and the headline was ki yes, I eat with my hands. But coming back to Mr. Gill and Mamdani, by the way, I'm eating biryani. Mamdani was also eating biryani. Yeah, so I don't know any other way of eating biryani but with my hands, because you mix the thing, you break the meat, you feel it. It's your relationship with the food. It's not. I mean, I won't let a fork or a knife come in between my sensory experience of eating a food. No, it's you feel the food, you eat it, you savor it, and then the taste lingers on your fingers for quite a long time, and So it's a whole experience. And Mr. Gill needs some food for thought. I mean, and he can do away with his fork and knife for a bit and try and eating like we do and enjoy the
It would be
food.
far healthier, right? You're eating with a plastic spoon. You on the one hand turn around and say that plastics have this, plastics have that. You're eating with your hands. I mean, your hands were meant. This is how animals.
Earth friendly.
Yeah, this is the way we eat. I mean, I think it's purely a cultural thing.
Yeah.
And making value judgments is the last thing anyone needs to do about another's cultural.
And this is open racism and bigotry. Okay, if it was a value judgment saying, array, your hands are smelling of spices, would you mind not doing this in front of others? Quietly, this is a Republican saying it openly on Twitter. And by the way, I'm very happy. Don't blame me for feeling good about the fact that people have been responding to him, Veera, by posting pictures of his parents-in-law eating with their hands. Saying, please send them back also. And then his wife has jumped in and said, no, we don't do that. This is roti, this is naan. Ridiculous.
I think it's an effort to, the community.
Yeah.
That's the whole point, That's what they're trying to do. That, they are others who do not eat the way we do. And I think that's what they're really trying to do. And you're seeing more and more of that. But, I have a theory as to why we love to eat with our hands. The reason is also, we make fresh food. We don't have like a 15-day routine that, ye 15 din baad hum khayenge,
Freezer
and all of it is
do.
stuffed in the freezer. Doesn't taste anything. You take it out, microwave it and eat it. There is no, as Asim says, no relationship with your food. Here, your mother, she buys fresh. How many of us actually buy vegetables 3 days in advance? No, we buy vegetables at best for 2 days. So our vegetables are fresh. Our parents, all along, our lifelong memories are that, our mother cooks fresh food, fresh meals for us. Piping hot, they come on the table.
Would hit me if I ate my food without washing my hands. And it's a thing in Indian households, right? It's common.
And I think it's largely, the food aspect is one aspect, but this is a colonial hangover to turn around and say that whatever happens in the West is something you look forward to. India needs its own solutions.
But they're very...
Now, I don't look down on someone who's eating with a spoon. Fine, you eat with a spoon if that's what makes you comfortable with. It makes me comfortable with let's not turn around and say this is superior, that is inferior. We have our advantages, and I think certain foods need to be eaten in certain ways. You cannot eat certain foods.
But Chef, I do feel that there's a lot of diversity even in North India, South India. When I came to Delhi, I would not use katoris, sabzi and roti, right? And people say, tumhari roti gili ho jayegi. But, that's okay. It was not with offense. But, with respect to the West, I do feel that there is, amongst a lot of people, there is not an attempt to understand where we are coming from and why we do what we do, right? That's something that is hurting.
And exactly for us as well. The other thing, if you go to a village and in a village feast, they don't eat like this. I eat with my fingers. They eat with their palm.
Full hand.
You miss
Full hand.
And then they do it. Now, that may seem repulsive and disgusting to you because it's our mental conditioning that that's not okay. But the farmer there on the field wants to eat his food like that. If you go and eat his food, he takes it out of this one and eats it up like that. It's a full sensory experience, and I think all of us need to reflect on when we make a value judgment. I mean, we don't make a value judgment on somebody else who's eating that.
You're experiencing the
Absolutely. Food. And Shiv, the West is very fascinated about yoga and, say namaste and all of that. And they turn it in and they make it their own thing as well. But you can't take a part of the culture and say, I like this, and then say the rest of the culture is disgusting.
Selective cherry picking of and co-opting of culture. Oh man, how much of that happens? Absolutely. So, we have basically covered the health aspects of it. Very importantly, and I'm glad someone here mentioned it, there is a hygiene aspect to this, There is a friendliness to the earth aspect to it. There is a cultural aspect to it. Less work for anyone cleaning in any kitchen, less garbage, less plastic, encouraging people to clean their hands before and after a meal, which is hugely important.
Have you heard of these 7-course meals?
Yeah.
What are they? This is
They're
what it is.
all from our heritage, our culture. So just on the point of what I find deeply problematic is the use of word civilized in that post by Mr. Gill. So I'll just end by saying that I don't need lessons in civilization by people who don't either wash your hands or their bottoms. So let's just
I wanted to bring up some of the replies that Representative Gill has gotten, and they actually go towards the unmentionable aspects of what you said. Hopefully we will have that discussion not at a dining table. Yeah, point noted, Asim. So as we, we're going to switch off our cameras now because we also have to finish our meals, and I promise you we'll be using only our hands, not spoons or forks. But the only reason, we've had a bit of a laugh about this, but this is a dead serious issue. And here on NDTV, we completely reject the kind of bigotry and racism that a public representative has displayed on a public platform. If he wants to be racist with his family, with his friends in a closed environment, please go at it. But this is a reality where he has felt that he can actually say something like this is truly shocking. And I will only end by saying, and if anybody wants to just jump in for a last word, please feel free. But I feel, and guys, don't jump at me for saying this, but sometimes I feel that these targeted attacks on Indian culture are also a kind of affirmation about how far India has gone, how big India's influence is in the West, how big Indian culture is in the United States especially, where there is maybe a threat over this rising influence. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm thinking, I'm not chest beating. I'm just thinking maybe something as simple as eating with your hands has become a target because people are jealous of India's rise.
I think the change is that about 10, 15 years ago, it would have gotten unnoticed. Now you're responding to it, turning around and saying, look, this is my way of doing things, and I'm going to keep doing it irrespective of what you think. I don't care what you think of me. And I think that's
Make it a campaign now. We'll tell people to tag us on Twitter and eat with your hands and post a picture and tag NDTV.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll do that. Good idea.
And yeah, this is the time we're all giving it back, right? Like Vida said, that we do feel that we cannot just, let them get away with this.
Yeah. 24 hours after Sriram Krishnan became the head for AI, he faced exactly the same kind of racist comments. Yeah. So yes, it is because India is rising that you're seeing this coming. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, basically, so white men can no longer have the last word, huh?
Yeah.
They can't have the last word. They definitely will not have the last word when they are racist in this manner. But I'll only end last word by saying, Representative Brandon Gill, thank you so much for this wonderful lunch that I've enjoyed with my colleagues and friends here at NDTV. Thank you. And I won't have the last word on how good it is to eat with your hands. Listen to what Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudev had to say about it in this viral comment.
When you don't touch the food, you do not know what it is. If food is not good enough to be touched, I don't know how it's good enough to be eaten. The first thing that's been taught to us is, if food appears in front of you, to hold your hands upon the food for a few moments.
And there's good news for internet users and consumers in the country, and we are one of the world's largest internet markets. Starlink, Elon Musk's path-breaking satellite-based internet service provider, will be making its India debut very soon. Musk's Starlink has cleared many big regulatory hurdles, and it will be entering the Indian consumer market very soon, so you could soon have a Starlink account. Take a look.
The countdown begins for Musk's space-powered internet revolution. Starlink is finally ready to make its India debut. SpaceX's Starlink satellite internet provider has cleared most regulatory and licensing hurdles in India. But wait, don't expect lightning-fast satellite internet just yet. In-Space chairman confirms that there are still procedural steps pending, and it may take a few more months before the service becomes operational.
CEO of SpaceX had come to India, Ms. Gwen Shotwell. She had met with a couple of ministers. She had met with me also. Basically, she was just trying to finish off all the open issues that are there for them to get all the required authorizations and licenses. And there are a lot of steps to be followed even after the licensing and authorization, which they will have to work on. I don't have all the details of what all needs to be done. So it will take few months even after authorization for the service to start operating in India.
Once live, Starlink will bring high-speed satellite internet across India with an initial data capacity of 600 to 700 GBs per second, enough to power thousands of simultaneous users. But it won't come cheap. Starlink has revealed its India pricing. But in 2022, former Starlink India director Sanjay Bhargava said it would cost around 1.5 lakh in the first year, dropping to 1.15 lakh from the second year. India's neighbors, Bhutan and Bangladesh, also have access to Starlink's services. In Bhutan, the residential light plan costs about 3,000 rupees and the standard residential plan about rupees 4,200. In the US, the residential light costs about 2,500 rupees and the residential rupees 4,000 in New York. While in Canada, the first one is available for rupees 6,800 and the second for nearly 9,000 rupees. Starlink enters a fiercely competitive telecom market in India, already dominated by Jio, Airtel and BSNL. From Mongolia to Bangladesh, Starlink has already changed the internet game in Asia. And now it's India's turn. Bureau Report, NDTV.
And finally, one of the most iconic films of our time, The Devil Wears Prada, is returning as a sequel nearly 2 decades later. That's right. This is the big news that's taken over fandom all across the world. The Devil Wears Prada Part 2 is coming up very, very soon. And Mayank, my friend who tracks everything from movies to celebrities to fashion very closely, Anna Wintour is back. Oh, Meryl Streep is back in Devil Wears Prada 2. Is she going to be in it?
Shiv, let me just say, please bore someone else with your questions.
My favorite line.
Details of your incompetence do not interest me. So before you get mad, these are the lines said by Miranda Priestley, our favorite and the worst boss. The Devil Wears Prada 2 is officially in production. The cult hit movie that sparked global interest in fashion and sparked a million memes. Meryl Streep, Anne Hathaway, Emily Blunt and Stanley Tucci will reprise their iconic roles in the sequel, with Kenneth Branagh joins the cast as Miranda Priestley's husband, adding new star power to the franchise. The story follows Miranda facing the decline of the print media. Meanwhile, she's also facing with her former assistant, Emily Charlton, played by Emily Blunt, who is now a high-powered executive at a luxury advertising company. And for our beloved Andy, played by Anne Hathaway, rumor has it that she's in Paris exploring other stuff. The exciting announcement comes right after the big news from the fashion world, where the iconic editor of Vogue magazine, Anna Wintour, is leaving Vogue and now finding a replacement for her role. Anna, who is known for her cutthroat and brutal opinion on fashion and pop culture, can single-handedly make or break brands and designers. With her iconic Bob and Chanel sunglasses, she's dominated the world of fashion for nearly 40 years. So go fetch 10 or 15 skirts from Calvin Klein, Shiv, as we all get excited for Miranda Priestley's mayhem. That's all.
This is incredible. I can't wait for The Devil Wears Prada 2. I just wanted to say I was 26 years old when the movie came out. And I'm going to be 45 years old when the sequel comes out. So, yeah, I feel a little old. But thanks, man, for giving us that very, very nice good news. Looking forward to that. It's a wrap on India Matters. Thanks so much for watching. The news continues here on NDTV.
Hello, Moto.
Motorola, an AI smartphone brand.
Finesta windows, beautiful and durable designs, installation से maintenance की lifelong customer service. आपके घर में Finesta नहीं है तो कॉल कीजिए.
Finer Finesta. Is your business future ready? Join the 13-week strategic ESG certification program for business sustainability and growth for CXO and business leaders by NDTV, Terry and Zenora. Master global ESG frameworks, gain real-world tools, and lead with impact. Starts July 13th. Enroll now and power your business with sustainability.
That's huge. That is Gold Plus Clear Glass. Far ho ya near, sab kuch dikhe clear.
Do you really know the company you invest in? What is the real picture behind presentations and claims? Is the outlook as rosy as the company claims? Know Your Company, powered by NDTV Profit Research, shines a light on the biggest stock market movers.
Finesta windows, beautiful and durable designs. इंस्टॉलेशन से मेंटेनेंस की लाइफ लॉन्ग कस्टमर सर्विस। आपके घर में फिनिस्टा नहीं है तो कॉल कीजिए।
Finer Finesta.
If it matters to you, if it matters to you, if it matters to you, it matters to India. It matters to India. It matters to India. And it matters to me. And it matters to me.
India Matters with Shivaru. Only on NDTV 24/7. Is your business future ready? Join the 13-week strategic ESG certification program for business sustainability and growth for CXO and business leaders by NDTV, Terry and Zenora. Master global ESG frameworks, gain real-world tools and lead with impact. Starts July 13th. Enroll now and power your business with sustainability.
फिनिस्टा विंडोज, ब्यूटीफुल एंड ड्यूरेबल डिजाइन्स। इंस्टॉलेशन से मेंटेनेंस की लाइफ लॉन्ग कस्टमर सर्विस। आपके घर में फिनिस्टा नहीं है तो कॉल कीजिए।
Finer Finesta.
Hamuzi, 1 hour lined up for you. It has been 4 days, remember, since the tragic death of Shefali Jariala. What killed the reality TV star is not clear. The autopsy report hasn't come out yet. Hence, the questions surrounding her death remains. We have a panel of actors, entrepreneurs lined up for you to understand what are the pressures of staying in the glamour world and what role do anti-aging treatments, anti-aging therapies, when they are combined with fasting, what impact does it really have? That's at 9:30 p.m. But before that, 2 shocking images, look at these, or videos, which have surfaced over the last 24 hours from Himachal Pradesh to Odisha. Netas targeting and beating up officers. Will they away like they have in the past for this kind of high-handedness, we ask. But first up, the never-ending power tussle in Karnataka between these 2 gentlemen, the Chief Minister and his deputy. There is a temporary truce somewhat in this Karnataka Nataka. Siddaramaiah is firmly in the Chief Minister's chair, but it may well be short-lived at the moment. That is the indication. The Congress is saying that it's a happy family. It's a Game of Thrones that's playing out between the Chief Minister and the Deputy Chief Minister. Congress in charge of Karnataka, Randeep